All right, guys, I want to talk for a minute about what's going on in Kenosha. I'm going to try to keep this short and sweet, but I want to get to the point as fast as I can. Today is the 26th of August, 2020. I want to talk for a little bit about what happened with Kyle Rittenhouse up there. I want to talk about what's going on across America. COVID has been raging around the world. When I say raging, I mean it is causing great upsets to markets, to people's incomes, to people's livelihoods, to people's mental well-being, to school systems, to our whole way of life. Add insult to injury, we've got a war going on, a cultural war in our country. It was already festering, but what happened in Minneapolis with Mr. George Floyd spread that farther. It is now bursting at the seams, and what I want to talk about here is, one, what's going on in Kenosha, what's going on elsewhere, but how we collectively can make a difference. So Kyle Rittenhouse, 17 years old, goes from Illinois, my state, across the border into Kenosha, which is just on the border north of Chicago, not far from me at all. We have friends and family working there. The situation's near and dear to me because of that. Self-defense, was it? Or something else? Can you defend life or can you defend property? Can we separate just the incident of him using force from the totality of the whole evening, or must we look at them separately or together? Let's think about that. What's the big picture? What led up to it? Did he even need to be there? I think that's important. Could he leave? Was he an aggressor or a maker of peace? All important stuff. I'm going to talk about that. We're going to talk a little bit about the Constitution. I want to talk about a few things in regards to these protests as a whole. Let's talk about what happened up there first. Unarmed male black subject shot by law enforcement numerous times. He's in the hospital right now, apparently paralyzed from the waist down. Sets off a firestorm of riots, not peaceful protests, riots. This gentleman goes up there, young man, 17 years old, to get into the mix, gets involved in some violence himself, dispatches some rounds, and is now being charged with multiple murders. It's life-changing stuff here, people. This isn't video games. This isn't sexy nonsense on the internet. Now it's real. People are dying. Side note, myself, because that's all I can really speak for, in no way, shape, or form would I ever wish any injustice to happen to anybody. In no way, shape, or form would I protect any government official, any law enforcement employee, any school teacher, any priest, any pastor, any citizen, any human in general that inflicted violence on another unrighteously, or that seeks to prey upon others in any way, shape, or form. I don't care if you're a cop. I don't care if you're the president. If you break the law and injure other people, you should be reprimanded to the full extent of the law, whatever that may be. That law is ours. That's the Constitution, and we'll talk about that. So Mr. Rittenhouse, by some people's accounts, is a young hero, Robin Hood maybe. Traveled up there to protect good people's property, protected himself, and shot some bad guys. That's some people's account. On the other hand, some media is looking at this and they're saying a young armed vigilante started brandishing a weapon and shot people. Well, first of all, both are true. Both are true. I think in another time he would have been looked at as a hero of sorts. I think there is no dishonor in wanting to do the right thing. And I don't know this kid. I don't know his family. I don't know anything about him. And I know I'm going to make people angry with this video, and it's okay, because what my purpose is not to do anything but stir your guts and make you want to think. I'm sharing my viewpoints. So rather than fill the comment section up with hate, let's talk about how we can do better collectively. Did he need to be there? No. This is where things start to become problematic. No, he did not need to be there. Prosecutors, attorneys, judges, investigators, ladies and gentlemen of a jury are going to look at all these facts. Did he need to be there? Could he leave? Was he an aggressor? Did he legally have the right to have those weapons? You know, violence oftentimes is not pretty and sexy like I think sometimes young men imagine. I have a friend, I'm not going to tell you his name, but he's a great war fighter. He's not a social media personality, and he's not a great social media personality because he would never take what he's done in his life and glorify it. He told me one time, and this man was one of the first dudes into the overseas conflict in a covert manner. He said to me one time, he said, Mickey, young men want to taste from the cup of war. You know, we see movies from the time we're little kids. We look up to the heroes that defend our soil, and we should. But he said, once you've tasted it, you can't get that bitter taste out of your mouth, and oftentimes you wish you never did. That doesn't mean that people who are involved in violence wish they weren't, because sometimes it is for just reasons. But I think sometimes certain people want to be involved in violence for the wrong reasons. And once they are, I bet you they wish they could go back and change that. You know, one of the videos that we saw coming out of there was somebody being shot in the head, somebody being shot in the chest with a rifle, somebody else being shot in their elbow bicep area. It's gruesome. I hope when you see that, you take pause, because when we take up arms, when we put a gun on our body or in our vehicle or in our home, and we go out into the world or have that gun with us in our home and property, and we intend to use it to protect life, we are taking on this mantle saying, I am willing to risk all to protect what I have. I am willing to risk my freedom in case it goes wrong for me, but I am also willing to lay on the line my discernment, my ability to look at a situation and judge that I'm going to do the right thing. That's what happens with law enforcement. We have the luxury to look back at footage and say they didn't do the right thing, while in the moment they had fractions of seconds often to make decisions. I've met lots of cops. I've trained with them. They're people just like you and me. Their brains work just the way that cognition works. I think a lot of people that weigh judgment have no idea about life and death scenarios. Is more training needed? Yep. That's not always the fix, though. We are always going to have issues when human beings are involved. That's just the way it works. But when we pick up a gun, I mentioned cops, as a law enforcement official, you put a badge and a gun on. As an armed citizen, cops are citizens too. I don't delineate between the two, except one carries with them the force of all the people. So something I want to say about cops as we're on this subject: police don't make law. Police don't even judge right from wrong in a lot of sense. What police are doing is saying to people in their jurisdiction, in their purview, I'm here to tell you what I'm told to tell you. What they're told to tell you is what you and I create as law in our local jurisdictions, what our counties, our cities, our states create as law. Cops don't make up laws, and when they start to make up laws on their own, that becomes a problem. I had a family member recently who had their constitutional rights completely violated by law enforcement, and the person was reprimanded. I myself initiated an investigation, had the investigation initiated because it was nonsense. We don't overlook injustices. And that's something I want to make sure you all understand. This isn't about placating law enforcement, nor is it about placating a mob. It is about what's right and just. Did this young dude need to be there? The answer is no. Did he need to be armed there? The answer is no. Could he have left? Probably over and over again. And in all of that, he's probably going to be in trouble. In the moment, from a raw, pragmatic breakdown of a violent fight, the kid did okay. I'm not saying he did right. I'm saying he did okay just from the standpoint of a fight, like we're dissecting a football play. He won, but at great cost. Human life was taken. His life is going to be forever altered. So I beg you, if you arm yourself for any reason, do completely understand the gravity of what you are taking into your hands, that mantle that you place upon yourself. Because bullets cannot be called back, and your decisions are forever when you pull the trigger and put bullets into other humans. It's real. It's legit. Defense of property. So some people are saying it's just stuff. Well, if you take my vehicle from me and I can't afford a new one, and maybe it's just got liability insurance on it, and I can't get to work, how do I take care of my kids? How do I pay my rent? If you destroy my business, and maybe I've got some insurance, but the deductible's so high, and because the markets are bad right now, I can't even afford to pay the damn deductible. How about a business that maybe they weren't able to pay the premium because the markets have been in such a bad way? People are not shopping. People are staying home. You start to strip people of their livelihood. What you've done is you've basically damned them to homelessness. Is that not something that requires defense? Would you be willing to put your kids on the street versus defend your property? I know of a man that had a massive stroke recently because of the massive amount of stress on him from all that's going on in the world. He's lost eyesight from that stroke. Strokes don't just happen to people that are sick. Strokes even happen to young people. His blood pressure and anxiety and stress got so great that he had a stroke and now is forever altered. It's when we do things like march through cities and streets and burn and cause mayhem and destruction, you are putting the general populace into a state of high anxiety. The beginning of the Constitution says, "We, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, comma, establish justice, comma, ensure domestic tranquility, comma, provide for the common defense, comma, promote the general welfare, comma, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity, comma, do ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States of America." People see this and they say, well, what about the fact that there were slaveholders? Look, none of us think that the men that wrote this Constitution were perfect. We judge people by what they knew at the time. We have to judge people by what was normal in the light of history. There's a lot of things that I think, tend to overlook about our founders, and there's a lot of things that I will not overlook. But I also understand one thing. In order to form a more perfect union, they didn't say a perfect union, they said a more perfect union, meaning we are going to go from here to here. That's all they could do. We're going to get it from here to here. And boy, did they move a heavy load on our behalf. But later they said, ourselves and our posterity. We are the posterity. We are the posterity that they were talking about. Posterity is them in the future. That's us. It's our job now to pick up that load and go from here to here. And right now we're not doing it. Quit blaming government. Government, as per this document, is nothing more than representation of us. Representation of us. See, we created government. We the people did. We the people literally can replace every person in government like that if we wanted to. All the work that's being done, and it is work to march in streets and burn things. It's not good work, it's evil work, but it's work nonetheless. Calories are burned. There is some semblance of leadership, but it's shitty leadership taking place in these situations. What if all of that work was channeled with a goal, an objective? And that goal objective was divided into sub-objectives, into compartmentalized tasks that needed to be achieved in order to arrive at the main objective, such as elect a new mayor because you want a new police chief. Well, get a new mayor, get a couple new city council people, and you can change your whole police commission. How about a new sheriff? You can do that too. You want to change your Congress people? Yep, you can do that. It's all done in the same way, and the context of it and confines for it are right here. The work being done in the streets, people say, well, that's the only voice they have. Those people in the streets are bred and made from the same tissue that these men were. These women that were behind our great republic. You're the same people. They're your ancestors, whether you claim it or not. Do the hard work, because right now you're not doing the hard work if you're tearing streets up. That's the easy way. That's the easy way. How about take the hard right instead of the easy left? Because that's what's happening. When you loot and steal, you are literally pissing on your neighbors. You are pissing on this document. You are pissing on the graves of patriots, is what you're doing. You're saying I am too lazy to pick up a load that was carried on my behalf. That's what you're saying. It can be done. When we start thinking broader, begin playing chess instead of checkers. I hate that cliche, but I said it anyway because that's what's happening. instead of being divisive and tearing ourselves up, instead of planning for failure after failure, instead of sharing more violence and mayhem, what if we ask ourselves, what is the highest use of my life? What is the highest use of my day? What is the highest use of the words that come out of my mouth? I'll tell you what, sometimes I feel like a hypocrite having these conversations because I was a shithead. I lived in my past life as a criminal, as a thief, as a liar, as a snake, as a cheat. I've done all that. From time to time, people think that they're being slick and they remind me of it. God knows that I know. Not a day goes by that those things that I did in my life don't guide what I do today. In spite of myself, I'm still here. In spite of myself, I can still live in this republic and go on. In spite of myself, I have a chance. If I do, we all do. So please do understand, I don't come to you with a silver spoon. I don't come to you from some high education. I don't come to you from any place other than one where I crawled with my face in the dirt for a long time, making a lot of mistakes, but realized that what these men did here allows any of us to do the same thing. They were no smarter. They were no stronger. They were no more capable of compassion or love or anger or rage than any one of us. But what they were capable of was a cohesive plan to create a more perfect union. Quit tearing our streets up. Quit unknowingly being party to the proliferation of bad information. Quit fixating on what the media is telling you to fixate on. Quit passing on judgment and lies. Quit passing on half-truths. And let's get together and lead as we are supposed to, so that our children and our grandchildren will have a constitution left with which to rule each other. We the people, by the people, for the people. Congress shall make no law. It's pretty heavy duty. Respecting an establishment of religion, or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech or of the press, or of the right of the people to peaceably assemble, or to petition the government for a redress of grievances. Basically, that one paragraph says, you can't tell me what to say. You can't tell me what to think. You can't tell me that I can't go in to work, be it at my computer or wherever, and rebuild my city hall from the ground up through work, through votes. The vote is the most powerful thing in the world, not the gun. The vote is. You can do it. I believe in you. We need you. America needs you. Together, collectively, we can move any load. That's the one cool thing that has kept America still free and safe, is that in times of turbulence, in times of trial, in times where the rest of the world doesn't rise to the occasion, we always have. Every single time. In all of our existence, we are the ones, each and every time, that has stood up and said, we got this. Yeah, we got kids during the world wars going out with wagons filling up scrap metal to make munitions, to make tanks, to make planes. We've got women riveting, right? Building guns and munitions. We got women on the battlefield today. But throughout the course of history, we collectively have risen to the challenge. And that, I think, is based on a very simple ideal. It's love, man. It's love for each other. It's love for a way of life from the Pacific to the Atlantic, for a way of life that allows us to be so diverse. I don't think any one of us, none of us that view this type of content, believe that anybody should have their life taken from them unrighteously by a cop or by anybody. I don't think any of us think that it's okay to tear up cities. I don't think any of us think it's okay for people to be filled with hate and cause harm to others. I don't think it's okay, and none of us would think it is, for lies to be perpetuated on the public and for us to be party to passing those lies on. Dig deeper. Think about where you came from. Use the context and confines of law to make change. If you need help, we're here for you. Anything that I am capable of, I will do. I promise you that. Together we can make it. I know we can. Be good. Don't be dickheads.